Okay, first off the bat, fuck you, T-Mobile, for you and your wonderful ass fucking phone cellular service. Okay, now I've got that off my chest. Let's talk about not to be funny about that. Okay, my last deal was screwed up because T-Mobile's a piece of shit service and they need to be drugged behind a car through a pile of cat shit. But anyway, trying to be nice, but not today. Okay, fellas, I've had a lot of questions on the F-86 and why do we need to be sheeting the tops of the wings first? Number one, I am an aviation mechanical technical engineer, so we're going to talk about aerodynamics of these airplanes and why we build things this way and why they have to be built that way. And the main reason is because your airfoils, doesn't matter if they're symmetrical, set, flat, it doesn't matter. It creates a vacuum over the top of the wing, which is what gives it its lift. What happens is on the bottom of the wing, the air is moving normal speed. The top of the wing, which is the airfoil, is actually creating a vacuum and creating a lift. So what happens is you get in and top of your wing is taking so much abuse that it's literally trying to be ripped apart by the airspeed. You get it going fast, the faster it goes, the more violent the suction is, vacuum is. I'm trying to talk about stuff. Just retarded. Well, at least you guys are still better than AT&T, I guess. Anyhow, your tops of your wings and where I was at, hopefully I can get through this. Doing this or not, I'm just going to shoot a regular video. Now, if you're watching me on You'll say hello and I'll answer your questions as honestly as I can. But I think one of the biggest things that a lot of guys don't realize the fact is how violent these wings actually are reacting to your airspeed. Your top wing needs to be glued down first because then you can get underneath it and back glue it like I've showed you. And it's very important that the top wing is even more so than the bottom, because if you don't, be really a catastrophic failure. And over time, wing will actually move and wear itself out if you don't. Now, the only exception to the rule on that would be a fabric covered wing or monocoated or whatever, because of the fact is you want the seam to overlap. The top seam to overlap. Blow it up. My broadcast. Oh, anyway, just bear with me. I think one of the biggest things that guys don't realize is the fact is how violent these wings are. So any of your surfaces need, if you're building them out of wood and all this, you want to be sheeting the top so you can get in there and glue it first. Your elevators, everything you build, your flaps, everything you build needs to be sheeted topside first. Now, and I'm not listening to this or shit. Anyway, what you want to be doing on your fabric wings is making sure that you sheeting edges underneath that first, and then done. Now, what I've done on the F-86 is I've actually added a 1/4 by 3/8 front cap that goes in between the ribs on the front spar, and that is actually adding a spar. If you look at what I'm doing, it goes top and bottom, And that's going to give it even more of a leading edge stability, and it's not going to flex as near as much. Now you do want your wings to flex a little bit. And the main reason that you want to do your top wing, there's really no option with the Mears models. And there isn't. I mean, you have to do the top, and that's why you have that big, beautiful jig built underneath it. And the reason for that is because the washout in the wing is actually built into it. And that's why I build my wings on the floor. A lot of guys said, man, that's just crazy. Why don't you just build a big bench and do it? Well, here's the thing about the floor. I know my floor is completely and perfectly flat. And I know that because we put it in there and we poured it that way. For the very reasons I build real airplanes in that room. And have. And will. Again. So there's no fall in that floor whatsoever. It's completely and perfectly flat. So when I put weight on the deal, which let me talk about weight now. And a lot of guys will argue this, but water weighs 8 pounds a gallon. And a bottle is an old whiskey bottle, wine bottle, Gatorade bottles, anything you want are the perfect weight for every 6 square inches there is on that wing to hold it down while that glue dries. You get 5 gallons of water, it's 40 pounds. Now, 9 pounds of water is putting enough pressure on that wing, 9 bottles. You can figure it out by the ounces, and it is what it is. So I'm actually, when I put that wing jig on that floor, which is perfectly flat and there's no chance of it sagging or doing anything crazy, I place those bottles every 12 inches apart on that wing with a board to spread the weight out. So that weight on that, the whole entire weight on that wing, when I laminate that top surface and I put it on there and glue the hell out of it, it's got 35 pounds of weight on it. Now you can do this with shot bags. A lot of guys do that, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. As a matter of fact, that's how I used to do it. But water is the heaviest known substance in the world. And per volume, it is. Everything in the world is synchronized to it. Into 1 gallon of water. Gasoline weighs 6 pounds or 6.3, depending on what you got. Jet A weighs 6.7, and oil weight, it's 5 pounds. So, or 4.5 per quart. Per gallon, yeah, still not as much as a gallon of water. So, these are all things to take in consideration. And that top skin is also your main, that is your main strength of that wing, is that top skin. So you want to be sure that you do it first. I've had a few guys asking me about going and doing the bottom so they can get in and run all their wires and all that stuff and make all their wires nice and neat and all that. Don't do it. Because the main reason that that's going to fail is because, and again, your airflow across the bottom of the wing is 10 times faster than what's going on over the top. And that's your vacuum. That's your lift. The faster that airplane goes, the more the damn forces of nature are going to do its business to tear the top of that wing off. And that happens a lot. And you don't ever, even if you're balsa to balsa, no CA. You want that to dry as slow as it can possibly get. Epoxy in it won't help it. Yellow glue is a really good way to go. And this is another thing I want to talk about too, is epoxy. Because epoxy needs a lot of time to work itself into stuff. You don't want epoxy to dry too fast. The slower, if you got 30-minute epoxy, the slower it dries, the better it is. You can go 10-minute if you're in a hurry, if you're building foamies and all that stuff like that. Not a problem with 5 and 10-minute epoxy. But a 30-minute epoxy will be 10 times stronger. And it's pretty amazing stuff. Epoxy doesn't need any air to cure. It'll create its own atmosphere. So this is another thing as we get ready to start glassing that I want to explain more about. Now, again, a lot of people have asked me about the fiberglass cloth that I'm using. And yes, it's 1 ounce non-starched. It just forms better. It's what I prefer to use. And I only use Z-Epoxy because I know it works and it's the best I've ever used. Finishing resins are not really all that great for structure, but they are beautiful foundations for paint and other stuff. Now, when you think about that, we're building a wood structure with this Mears RC jet. It's always going to be a wood structure. There's no way to make it a composite structure. It's always going to be made out of wood. It's just covered in some fiberglass cloth and finishing resin to give it a really nice base for a beautiful finish. That's all we're doing. It doesn't give it any strength, none whatsoever. It doesn't weigh any more than super monocoat if you do it right. Now, we're putting a lot of weight and everything onto this plane simply because of the fact is we are going to do a lot of paint work. But I want you guys to understand that if you're going to go any bigger, any more than 1 ounce, you built your airplanes wrong. And I say that without trying to insult anybody's intelligence. Composite structures are made to be composite structures. They don't need anything but to hold them apart. They're already strong. Wood structures rely upon themselves and the way they're built to get the strength. Wood structures have been around. They're still used today. I just worked on a 1936 Curtis Robin that had a lot of wood things. The PT-19 that we're working on up here in Mount Vernon, getting ready to rebuild that center section, was my grandpa's old airplane. And that thing's built out of 1/8-inch plywood. That's all it is, that and the ribs. Spruce strips. Actually, that one was made out of fir when we did it 35 years ago. And it's been around since 1943. Now, I think one of the biggest things about wood, balsa wood has always been proven to be very rigid as long as it's treated, but it will fall apart. It dries out. And that's why I want to talk about the grades of balsa before you guys go and buy a bunch of this soft craft store stuff that is absolute garbage. Don't buy it. It'll sand easy and this and that, and you can scratch it and dang it like crazy, but guys, you got to know how to make the grade on this and get hard balsa. It's a lot tougher to sand. It's a lot tougher and difficult to cut, but it's what you need to have. And it's a lot better grain. It comes from the center of the tree. And that's where I slowed down on for a while because I couldn't find any. I could find balsa, but it was such a cheap grade that it was worthless. and it's not good. So you want hard balsa. It's darker in color, it comes from the center tree, and it's got really super tight grains. And you'll know it because you can tell the difference right away. Midwest balsa here in the United States just happens to be about the best bang for the buck and the least as expensive. There's no way to get around it. You're going to spend money on a sheet of balsa. It's just the way there is. So don't cut any corners. And a lot of guys have asked me about that. A lot lately, as a matter of fact. Is what about the balsa? Soft balsa you'll be able to put your fingers through it. You can't clamp it for crap. It just leaves big dents. And that also comes to, I'm hoping that it showed up. I don't know. I never proofread my videos. I just throw them on there. On the final sanding and after the filling, what I do, if I got any dents, I spray them with Windex or glass cleaner. As long as the blue stuff don't get any of the foofy crap. Or you can take a spray bottle with water and you put it 1/4 full of ammonia. The ammonia is important because it softens that wood right back up. It'll swell right up. If you go and you do yourself a trick, and I'm going to show you this before you guys get too carried away about over sanding your airplane. Go down and put a couple dents with your knuckles on a piece of balsa wood. Just go do it and spray it with glass cleaner.